The defense rests in the wrongful death trial against concert promoter AEG Live, filed by the family of Michael Jackson. KCAL 9's Randy Page has been covering the trial from the beginning, and he has today's dramatic details.
Michael Jackson's longtime personal doctor, Alan Metzger, testified today through this video deposition taken in September of last year as the defense's final witness in the case. The jury listened to testimony about Michael Jackson's secrecy surrounding his search for doctors and medications to help him sleep.
Michael would seek out avenues of sleep helpers, and that's another aspect of the secrecy. I never knew what he was doing at times if he wasn't in L.A., and probably he did things in L.A. that I don't know or Dr. Klein doesn't know.
Dr. Metzger was referring to Beverly Hills plastic surgeon Arnold Klein, who was also treating Jackson for many years. Attorneys for AEG are trying to convince the jury Michael Jackson sought out doctors for prescription medications without letting each doctor know what the other doctors were prescribing.
What about Dr. David Slavitt?
No.
Dr. David Adams?
No.
At one point, AEG lead attorney Marvin Putnam began naming the many doctors Michael Jackson had seen over the years.
Dr. Patrick Treacy?
No. I told you he was a doctor shopper.
Attorneys for AEG argue Michael Jackson maintained secrecy surrounding his medical care, including the treatment Dr. Conrad Murray was providing inside Jackson's bedroom when the pop star died from an overdose of the anesthetic propofol. AEG says it cannot be held responsible for what was going on behind closed bedroom doors between Jackson and Dr. Conrad Murray. Attorneys for AEG previously told us they intended to call Katherine Jackson and Prince Jackson to the stand, but it is clear they've changed their mind because the defense has now rested its case. Now it's Jackson family attorneys' chance to bring rebuttal witnesses. We're told to expect closing arguments next week in a case that began this past April. And now, according to the judge and her instructions to the jury today, this is a trial that is now in the final stretch.
Michael Jackson wrongful death trial is finally coming to a head. The defense has rested its case. The jury could begin deliberations as early as next week. Eyewitness News reporter Miriam Hernandez has the latest from the courthouse.
4 months before Michael Jackson's death, the star phoned a doctor who had been his primary physician for 27 years, a physician who, according to Jackson's former wife, Debbie Rowe, was the only doctor that really cared about him.
I think it was more of an anxiety call.
In a video deposition, Dr. Alan Metzger told jurors Jackson said he had a lot to prove. He wanted to restore his image after he was acquitted of child molestation charges and show that he was still the king of pop.
He needed to do a lot of perfectionizing. He wanted it to be something that had never been done before, and it had to be great. And so he had a lot of pressure on himself, from himself.
Attorneys for Katherine Jackson claim it was AEG that pressured Jackson, alleging that is why he called on Dr. Conrad Murray to administer the anesthetic propofol to help him sleep. The plaintiffs assert that up until this time, Jackson was fine.
He was great. He was a little more boisterous than his usual quiet self. He said he was doing beautifully and happy.
Yet Dr. Metzger testified about making a house call on April 18, 2009, 2 months before Jackson's death. Jackson inquired about sleep medications.
He wanted some intravenous medicine that would put him to sleep.
Metzger says he lectured Jackson. The potential consequences, he said, were life-threatening.
I just tried to let him know he's got to find a safe way and that I know he's going to have terrible problems.
The doctor's visit came a day before Jackson asked health practitioner Sherilyn Lee to find him someone to administer propofol. She refused. According to evidence submitted in court, it was within the same week Conrad Murray began his nightly infusions of the anesthetic propofol, which would later cause Jackson's overdose death.